talking about things that are very important to me, and I hope that are very important to all of you. This is our future. This is the scaffolding of our future in the making, and in a room full of such intellectual superiority, such achievement, such humans of brilliant exception. It is not often that I am in a gathering with so many Indian people at the same time. It's half the time they're all Indians. So I'm going to take this opportunity to maybe chew your minds just a little bit, but be patient with me, please. So, first of all, congratulations to all of who have received accolades and awards for their significant achievements. And I just want to start by saying that to me, all of you are distinguished friends and partners. And perhaps I should also state many of you are distinguished leaders. Today is a moment to reaffirm what truly matters: health and safety, environmental protection, the strength of our communities, the skills that lift people from the margins. And I believe that Apex Foundation is one of those platforms. Energy that respects our planet, the empowerment of women as a driving force of progress. And these, my dear friends, are not isolated goals. They are the pillars on which a stable and a prosperous nation stands. Apex Foundation India has placed these priorities at the center of its mission. This alignment, I do not believe, is accidental. It reflects the truth that serious practitioners, like all of you, know very, very well. Systems will only shift when every critical leverage is addressed with discipline and with clarity. When we treat health as infrastructure, when we see environmental resilience as economic security, when we view community upliftment as the fastest route to national competitiveness, when women, like myself, no longer fight for a seat at the table, but define the table itself. Let me start by saying that that was just a preface. We'll start with health and safety today, because across India, the strongest interventions have always been the ones that combine prevention with accountability, which I'm sure all of you are here to prove. We cannot rely on reactive models. Reaction has never been our friend. Modern public health demands early detection, workplace standards that are enforced with zero tolerance, transparent data on occupational risks, and a culture where safety is seen as an economic multiplier. If you're not healthy, we can't do anything. Like, for example, I wasn't well enough, but I came here, but tomorrow if you're not well enough, the system falls apart, right? When workers feel protected, productivity rises. When families are secure, communities thrive. This is not just theory, it is a pattern observed across sectors from manufacturing to logistics, construction to food processing, and so on and so forth. Now let's talk a little bit about our dear environment, right? Mother Earth, Prakriti, we worship her, right, as Indians? So let's talk about how we can protect her. Environmental protection is no longer about just compliance. It's not a tick in a box. Please, I know all of you know this, but the ones who don't, inform them for me. It is about foresight. Climate volatility is rewriting our supply chains. The small island development is a major focus for us at the UN. We have threats of tsunamis and, okay, I'm going to stick to my script, otherwise I'll just get carried away. Rewriting supply chains, as I was talking about. Reshaping asset values and redefining the risk threshold. Our companies run on risk and reward. If we don't address the risk of climate, then we are not addressing our rewards in the future. Companies that integrate environmental forecasting into boardroom decisions survive and expand resiliently. Governments that protect watersheds and air quality create breathing room for long-term growth. I don't think there's much breathing room happening in Delhi nowadays. True environmental stewardship means using science-based thresholds, not symbolic promises, which all of us are known to make. It means treating natural resources as a living capital that that strengthens or weakens our nation. But enough about environment, I want to move on to CSR. CSR and community upliftment follow the same logic. Communities are not beneficiaries, they are partners in our stability. When CSR funds flow into short campaigns, the impact of it dissolves. When they're directed to targeted multi-year campaigns, they're shaped predominantly by the community itself. That's when the results transform entire districts and not just a small, isolated, siloed area. We have seen this in rural developments. The model exists. The entrepreneurship model, early childhood education centers, and skilling hubs that link directly to local industry. Community resilience is built through trust, participation, solidarity, and continuity. And in this, I would say continuity is a word to take home with you. Along with this, skill upliftment is another core driver. The world is not short of talent, it is short of alignment between education and opportunity. Skill programs must reflect regional and economic realities. Training must be paired with apprenticeships, industry coalitions, and mobility pathways. Skill upliftment cannot sit apart from economic planning, mind you, it must guide it. Successful countries do not train people and hope that the market will respond. They design ecosystems where talent, technology, and industry rise together. We keep talking about green energy, but do we have enough of a workforce to fulfill the green jobs that are about to come out into our world? I don't think we have addressed that major issue yet. At least I'm trying. I hope you will as well. Green energy sits at the crossroads of innovation and necessity. India has the potential, and I say potential, to lead the world. Yet leadership requires more than capacity addition, which is exactly what we are doing right now. We are adding capacity and not fulfilling the granular fundamental requirements of this sector. It requires grid modernization, incentives for storage, policy frameworks that reward efficiency as much as generation. Green energy cannot be a patch, it must be the operating principle. When power systems become cleaner and more predictable, every other sector gains stability. The empowerment of women, just to take a quick note for us, is a multiplier that connects all the rest. Studies show that even when women do gain access to capital, social impact accelerates. When women enter leadership roles, governance becomes much sharper. When girls stay in school, communities experience long-term gains in health and income. Empowerment is not an agenda item. It is the smartest investment a country can make, and the returns arrive steadily and repeatedly. For years now, I have worked at the intersection of policy, strategy, and collective action. Through Power of Policy, I focus on translating high intent into high impact. Policies often fail, not because they lack ambition, but because they lack alignment. They lack the practical bridges that connect the boardroom, the ministry, the investor, and the citizens. My work has been to build those bridges and make them durable, and I hope you will make it your work too. Through Oberta's World, which is my other platform, I have pushed even further, or I'm endeavoring to. There our aim is to recalibrate systems at scale. I know all of you understand scale. Not to adjust just the margins, but to rethink the underlying logic. We ask the harder questions. I hope I'm doing that today. What must governance look like in a world shaped by climate volatility? How do we hardwire equity into the design of emerging markets? I am a capitalist at the end of the day. How do we create economic engines that value human capital? You guys, as much as financial returns. These are the questions that major conglomerates and government bodies bring to me. They want solutions that withstand scrutiny and time, and I hope I'm being able to give it to them. Yet no platform or leader can do this alone, so I stand here today saying that real progress, individual dedication aligns with institutional purpose. When communities trust the process, when businesses treat sustainability not as an obligation, but as an absolute advantage, when governments see social protection as a foundation of growth, the future belongs to the collective and not to the isolated. And we must be that collective. This is why today's event really matters to me. And I promise I'm winding up now. Apex Foundation India is creating a space where commitment becomes action and action becomes momentum. Each program in health, safety, environment, CSR, skills, green energy, and women's upliftment is a statement that our future is not waiting for us. It is asking us to shape it. If we want cleaner air, safer workplaces, stronger communities, and a confident workforce, we must choose coordination over silos. We must choose long-term thinking over short-term applause. We must choose courage over convenience. The great speeches that moved nations were not only powerful, they were very precise. They called people to rise above habit and actually see the horizon beyond. Today I ask of you the very same. Let us build a future where sustainability is actually the standard, where empowerment is actually a norm, where opportunity is not earned by privilege, but created by design. Let us prove that India can lead not only in scale, but in actual vision, and not only in ambition, but in actual precision-based execution. This is our moment to act, and if we act with clarity, unity, and purpose, the next generation will look back and say that this was the turning point, that this was the time when leaders, citizens and institutions chose to move together. So thank you very much. Let us begin, please.